Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast where we'll be diving deep into the most common stumbling blocks for English learners. Think of this as your shortcut to smoother, more confident English.
That's right. We're not just pointing out mistakes, we're giving you the tools to fix them. Making errors is part of the journey, but understanding these common pitfalls can seriously accelerate your progress.
Exactly. In today's episode, we're tackling the basics, the kind of mistakes that almost every learner makes at some point. Recognizing these early on can save you a lot of frustration down the line.
So, where do we begin? What's the first mistake that springs to mind?
Definitely articles. A, N, and D. They seem small, but they can be incredibly tricky. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I have cat, instead of, I have a cat.
Yes, the infamous article issue. It's all about understanding when to use a, or in for singular, countable nouns introduced for the first time, like I saw a bird.
And then there's the, which comes into play when you're talking about something specific or something you've already mentioned. The bird was singing, for example.
Another big one is the confusion between countable and uncountable nouns. I often hear learners saying informations or advices, which just isn't right.
Exactly. Those words don't have plural forms. It's some information and some advice. No is needed.
Moving on, let's talk about subject-verb agreement. This is where the verb changes depending on the subject, and it's another common area for mistakes.
Absolutely. You've got to say he runs fast, not he run fast. That little s or es on the end of the verb for third-person singular in the present simple tense trips up so many learners.
Right, it's a good rule of thumb to remember. If the subject is he, she or it, the verb usually ends with s or es.
And we can't forget pronunciation, especially that pesky tish sound. It's a real challenge for a lot of people.
It is. Putting your tongue between your teeth can feel so unnatural at first. But replacing it with an s, z, d, or t can completely change the meaning. Think and sink are worlds apart.
Okay, prepositions. These tiny words can cause so much trouble. I often hear, I am good in English instead of, I am good at English.
Prepositions are small but mighty. They show relationships between words, and using the wrong one can throw off the whole sentence.
So, to recap, we covered articles, countable versus uncountable nouns, subject-verb agreement, the th sound, and prepositions. That's a solid foundation of common mistakes to be aware of.
Definitely. And remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're a crucial part of the learning process.
Okay, let's move on to our next episode, where we'll dissect grammar mistakes and sentence structure problems.
Episode 2, here we come. In the last episode, we covered the basic mistakes like articles and simple verb use. This time, we're cranking up the complexity and hitting the grammar head-on.
Exactly. Getting your grammar on point is crucial for making your English clear and easy to understand. Otherwise, you could end up saying something completely different from what you intended.
Where do we begin? There are so many possibilities for grammar gremlins to sneak in.
Let's start with verb tenses. Mixing up the simple present and the present continuous is a classic mistake. I often hear learners saying, I go to the store now, instead of, I am going to the store now.
Yes, the simple present, I go, is usually for habits or facts, like I go to school every day. But for actions happening right now, it's the present continuous. I am going.
The past simple and present perfect tenses also cause a lot of confusion. I've heard countless times, I have seen him yesterday. But because yesterday is a finished time, the correct form is, I saw him yesterday.
Precisely. Present perfect is for experiences or actions that happened at an unspecified time, or continue until now, like I have seen that movie.
Negatives and questions are another minefield. I've heard, she don't like coffee, but of course, the correct form is, she doesn't like coffee.
Right. For the third person singular, we use does with negatives and questions, not do. So, does she like coffee? And she doesn't like coffee.
And let's not forget auxiliary verbs with modals. After can, you always use the base verb without to. So, She can sings is wrong. It should be she can sing.
Absolutely. And prepositions with verbs also cause problems. For example, I often hear listen music instead of listen to music. The verb listen is always followed by to.
Also, word order is important in English. In questions, we usually start with the auxiliary verb. For example, do you like pizza? Not you do like pizza?
Exactly. And in statements, the order is subject plus verb plus object. Like, she reads books.
Wow, we've covered a lot. Understanding these grammar points will really help you build sentences that sound natural and clear.
Definitely. Practice these rules and listen to native speakers, and you'll start using correct grammar almost automatically.
Don't forget, grammar mistakes are a normal part of learning. But with practice, you can improve a lot.
And that brings us to the end of episode 2. In our next episode, we'll be diving into the world of vocabulary and word choice.
Yes, episode 3. Vocabulary is up next. We have covered grammar, now it's time for word choice.
Even if your grammar is perfect, using the wrong word can confuse people or change the meaning of what you want to say.
One common mistake is mixing up words that look or sound similar but have different meanings. For example, actually and currently.
Right. Actually means in fact or really, while currently means now or at the present time.
So, if you say, I am actually studying English, it means I really am studying. But I am currently studying English means I am studying English right now.
Another pair of words learners confuse is make and do.
Yes. For example, we say make a decision, but do homework.
Or make a mistake, but not do a mistake.
It's important to learn which verbs go with which nouns because English has many fixed expressions.
Another common mistake is using false friends. These are words that look similar to words in your language, but have different meanings in English.
For example, in some languages, eventually means possibly or maybe. But in English, eventually means finally or in the end.
Exactly. So if you say, I will possibly come, you use possibly, but if you say, I will eventually come, it means you will come after some time for sure.
Idioms and phrasal verbs are also difficult. Learners often translate them word by word and get confused.
For example, break a leg means good luck, not actually breaking a leg.
Or give up means stop trying, not give something to someone.
Another problem is using words in the wrong context. For example, saying I am boring when you mean I am bored.
That's a very common mistake. Boring describes something that causes boredom, and bored describes how you feel.
So, this movie is boring, but I am bored.
Exactly. Learners should pay attention to adjectives ending with ed and ing.
Let's talk about synonyms too. Sometimes learners use a word that is grammatically correct but sounds unnatural.
For example, saying, I am happy to see you is natural, but I am glad to see you is also correct but slightly more formal.
Or big and large. Both mean similar things, but big is more common in everyday speech.
Yes, and some words are only used in certain situations, so it's good to learn them in context.
Another tip is to avoid translating word for word from your language. English has its own ways to express ideas.
For example, in some languages, people say, I have 20 years. But in English, we say, I am 20 years old.
Let's practice some common collocations, words that go together. For example, we say make a decision, not do a decision.
Or take a break, not do a break.
Learning collocations will make your English sound more natural.
One last point is about false cognates, words that look the same but mean different things. For example, sympathetic in English means kind and understanding, not feeling sorry.
That's right. If you want to say feeling sorry, use sorry or compassionate.
To improve your vocabulary, read books, watch English shows, and listen carefully to how words are used.
Also, use a good dictionary and note down new words with example sentences.
Practice speaking and writing with new words to remember them better.
Vocabulary and word choices are tricky, but hopefully listeners found our advice practical.
That's all for today. And up next, we will cover pronunciation and common accent mistakes.
Yes, episode 4. We'll improve how you sound in English and help you avoid common pronunciation mistakes.
In the last episode, we talked about vocabulary mistakes and how choosing the wrong word can change your meaning. Now, let's focus on pronunciation and accent, because even if your grammar and vocabulary are perfect, poor pronunciation can make it hard for people to understand you.
That's true. One of the most common pronunciation problems is with sounds that don't exist in your native language. For example, the th sound in words like think and this.
Right? Many learners replace the sound with s or z. So think becomes sink and this becomes this.
A good way to practice is to put your tongue gently between your teeth and blow air for the soft t in think, or use your voice for the hard t in this.
Another common issue is with long and short vowel sounds. For example, ship and sheep.
Yes. If you mix them up, you might say I saw a sheep, when you mean I saw a ship. That can be funny but also confusing.
Stress is also important in English. Many learners put the stress on the wrong syllable, which can make the word hard to recognize.
For example, the word present as a noun is present, but as a verb it's present.
Exactly. An incorrect word stress can sometimes change the meaning completely.
Intonation, the rise and fall of your voice, is another area where learners make mistakes. English often uses a rising intonation for questions and a falling intonation for statements.
Yes, and if you use the wrong intonation, your sentences might sound rude, flat, or unclear.
Connected speech is another challenge. In natural English, words often connect together, so going to becomes gonna in casual speech.
Or want to becomes wanna. Of course, this is informal and you shouldn't write it in formal English, but it's good to recognize it when you hear it.
Some learners also pronounce every letter, but English often has silent letters. For example, knife silent K, island silent S, and honest silent H.
And don't forget about extra letters learners sometimes add. For example, saying economics instead of economics, or adding a sound before words starting with S, like school, instead of school.
A practical tip: record yourself speaking and compare it to native speakers. You'll notice which sounds you need to work on.
Also, listen to English every day. Music, podcasts, TV shows, and repeat sentences out loud to practice pronunciation and rhythm.
Remember, you don't have to sound exactly like a native speaker, but your pronunciation should be clear enough to be understood easily.
That is very true. In the next episode, we'll talk about listening mistakes, why learners often misunderstand native speakers and how to fix that.
Yes, because good communication is not only about speaking, but also about understanding what you hear. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In our last episode, we dove deep into the world of pronunciation and accent, and how they impact your communication. But today we're switching gears.
That's right. We're tackling a crucial topic for all language learners: listening mistakes. Because let's face it, even if you've nailed your pronunciation, you still need to understand what people are actually saying to you.
Absolutely. And it's surprising how many common pitfalls can trip up even the most dedicated students. So, what's the big one you see learners struggling with most often?
Definitely trying to understand every single word. It's like they get so hung up on individual terms that they completely miss the overall message.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like tunnel vision. You're so focused on decoding each word that the whole sentence just whooshes right past you.
And let's be real, native speakers don't always make it easy. We speak fast, slur words together, throw in slang and idioms. It can be a lot to process.
Totally. So, what's the solution? How do we break free from this word-by-word trap?
Focus on the big picture. Listen for the main idea first. Pay attention to those keywords, the nouns, verbs, and adjectives that carry the core meaning of the sentence.
That makes perfect sense. It's like learning to skim a text for the essential information before diving into the details.
Exactly. And another huge mistake is ignoring context. Words and phrases can have totally different meanings depending on the situation.
Give us an example.
Okay, you hear someone say, "It's on the house," If you're just starting out, you might picture something literally sitting on top of a building. But in reality, it means something is free.
Idioms. Those tricky little expressions that can make or break your understanding.
They really can. And the key is exposure. The more you listen to natural English, the more these phrases will become familiar and you'll start to pick up on the context clues.
So it's all about immersing yourself in the language.
Precisely. And speaking of immersion, another common issue is panicking when you encounter a new accent.
Oh, the dreaded accent shock. You get used to American English, then bam, you're hit with British, Australian, or even a regional accent you've never heard before.
Can be disorienting for sure. But the solution is simple. Diversify your listening. Expose yourself to different accents as much as possible.
Watch movies, news channels, YouTube videos from different English-speaking countries. The more variety, the better.
Absolutely. And here's another one. Relying too heavily on subtitles.
Subtitles, the ultimate crutch. They're helpful in the beginning, but
if you always rely on them, your ears never learn to actually process spoken English on their own. It's like your brain gets lazy.
So what's the strategy here? Cold turkey?
Not necessarily. A good trick is to watch something with subtitles first to get the gist. Then watch it again without them and see how much you can understand. It helps your brain connect the sounds with the meaning.
That's a great tip. It's like scaffolding. You use the support at first, then gradually remove it as you get stronger.
Exactly. And speaking of being active, that brings us to another mistake. Not practicing active listening.
Ah yes. The old playing English in the background while I do other things trick.
Is better than nothing, but it's not nearly as effective as truly focusing on what you're hearing. Active listening means giving your full attention, pausing, repeating, and even shadowing the speaker to copy their pronunciation and rhythm.
Shadowing. That's a great technique. It really forces you to pay attention to the nuances of the language.
It does. And here's another one that trips up a lot of learners. Not knowing common contractions and connected speech.
Contractions like gonna and wanna?
Exactly. If you don't know that gonna means going to, or wanna means want to, you're going to miss a lot of what's being said. Native speakers use these all the time in casual speech.
It's like a whole different dialect sometimes.
It can feel that way. So, make a point of learning those common contractions and paying attention to how words are linked together in spoken English.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of potential pitfalls here. But what happens when you're doing your best, and you still miss something?
Don't panic. Even native speakers sometimes don't catch every word, especially in a noisy environment. It's all part of the process.
So don't get discouraged.
Exactly. The key is consistent practice and exposure. Listen a little bit every day, podcasts, songs, conversations, and your brain will adapt over time. It's like building a muscle.
Persistence is key.
All right, that wraps up our discussion on listening mistakes. But we're not done yet. In our next episode, we're tackling another essential skill: writing.
That's right. We'll be exploring common writing mistakes and how to avoid them. Because clear writing is just as important as speaking and listening.
So, tune in next time for that. But for now, let's shift our focus to the written word. What are some of the biggest writing blunders you see learners making?
Without a doubt, spelling errors. English spelling is notoriously tricky because the way a word is pronounced doesn't always match the way it's written.
Oh, tell me about it. Words like receive or necessary seem designed to trip people up.
They really do. So what's the remedy for this spelling nightmare?
Keep a personal list of words you often misspell and review them regularly. Flashcards can be really helpful for this.
That's a great tip. Personalized learning is always more effective. And what about those pesky homophones? There, and there, the bane of many learners' existence.
Oh yes, mixing up similar words like that is a very common mistake. And also confusing your and your, or its and its.
They're small errors, but they can make your writing look less professional. It's all about attention to detail.
Exactly. And punctuation mistakes are another big issue. Some learners use commas way too much, while others don't use them enough.
The dreaded comma splice. It's like they're afraid to use full stops, So they just string everything together with commas.
Long sentences without proper punctuation can be really hard to read. It's better to keep sentences clear and to the point.
So break it up. Don't be afraid of shorter sentences. Your reader will thank you for it.
Definitely. And here's another common pitfall. Directly translating from your native language.
Oh yes. That can lead to some very awkward and unnatural sounding sentences in English.
English has its own sentence structures and idiomatic expressions, so try to think in English rather than translating word for word.
It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work.
Exactly. And speaking of sounding natural, some learners overuse complex words to try to sound smart, but this can actually make their writing unclear.
Ah yes, the thesaurus trap. They think bigger words equal better writing, but
The goal is communication, not showing off your vocabulary. Your reader should understand your message easily.
simpler words are often more effective. Clarity is key.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the basics. Subject-verb agreement.
She go to school instead of she goes to school. It's a basic mistake, but it still happens.
It does. And don't forget about consistency in verb tenses. Switching between past, present, and future without a reason can confuse the reader.
So, stick to a tense unless you have a specific reason to change it.
Exactly. And one more tip, a crucial one. Always proofread your writing.
Even professional writers make mistakes, but they fix them before sharing their work.
Yes, and tools like spell checkers or grammar checkers can help, but don't rely on them completely. Use them as support, not as a replacement for your own knowledge.
They're a good starting point, but they won't catch everything. Your own critical eye is still the best tool.
Precisely. And remember, improving writing takes practice. Write a little everyday emails, journal entries, short essays, and get feedback when possible.
The more you write, the better you'll become. It's like anything else.
Alright, that brings us to the end of our series on common mistakes English learners make. We've covered listening and writing. Now it's your turn to review these tips and apply them to your own learning journey.
Remember, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Exactly. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you found this series helpful. Happy learning!
Until next time.